We have braved the beaches, we've trudged through the ruins, but the flying saucers have brought us a little bit out of this world for this one. Hello everyone, I am your host Quack, and welcome to the Martian Dome for Quack's Marble Clash Season 3. You can see me standing right there next to Rager, and of course Ramen is hiding once again somewhere around the stadium. There are the 4 test teams standing in front of us, but today is not about them, for today is about the draw to decide the qualifier groups with this green funnel. It's very similar to what we saw last season, where the teams are sorted into pairs, and they'll send one marble to spin through that. Of course, a lot of this is also getting used to this new stadium. It is quite literally out of this world. Luckily, there's enough oxygen in here to breathe for quite some time, but you can see all of the marbles there lined up. We'll be beginning with the most important matchup, the Snapping Turtles versus the Stingrays. These two aquatic animal teams have finished next to each other in both leagues. This was another one of the matchups we saw last season, and they're going at it once again. These two are pretty bitter rivals, and they're getting very physical here. It looks like the Stingrays will be going into Group A, and you'll see how it works here. The first marble to go through will go into Group A. The second is going into Group B. Bowser, the captain of the Snapping Turtles, still spinning around there, but they will be going through now. The Snapping Turtles looked very solid last season, just narrowly missed out on the overall podium, and the Stingrays came away with 5th place. Very respectable seasons for both of them, and both of them have a lot to prove heading into this season, considering they're some of the best teams in this league that don't currently have an overall podium. But speaking of an overall podium, the King Crabs are in this heat, as well as the Rose Rollers. The King Crabs are the Season 1 champions, and for the first time since then, they'll be going back to the qualifiers. But of course, which group will they be in? Ooh, it looks like the Rose Rollers are dancing around the edge, and the Rose Rollers will go into Group A. The King Crabs going into Group B. A lot of teams are going to have eyes on them, knowing how strong of a team they are. They're pretty much objectively the strongest team of anyone in these qualifiers, so a lot of eyes will be on them. But the Rose Rollers going into Group A, I'd say right now Group B looks a lot more threatening, with the Snapping Turtles being so slightly better than the Stingrays last season, and the King Crabs definitely being generally better than the Rose Rollers, though the Rose Rollers probably wouldn't like me saying that. But now the Flashbangs and Team Pixie, these two locked together here. Ooh, who will go first? Team Pixie. Oh, they fall out of the catch basin there. That is something they did last season. Team Pixie, their captain Magica, perhaps just getting used to falling out of the draw funnel just to show off to the fans, perhaps. But the Flashbangs will be going into Group B, and that is another one where the team that's another one pretty much objectively better going into Group B. Group B is looking very dangerous, as now we're heading into Match 4 now with Slush Rush and the Stone Golems. Both of these teams were very middling last season, and both of these teams really have been middling for their entire careers. The Stone Golems were generally looking a bit stronger in Season 1 with 8th place, but it looks like, they're going back and forth with Slush Rush going into Group A. Both of them really wanted to get into Group A, seeing all of the threatening teams in Group B. But it looks like the Stone Golems will be, unfortunately, going into that group. The Stone Golems, I'd say, are generally the stronger of these two teams here, but they're both very close. Both of them have a lot to prove to finally get a really great season. It looks like Slush Rush will be going into Group A. But now we move into Match 5 with the Loaves of Bread and Checkmates. The Loaves of Bread had a very strong Season 1 and a not-so-hot Season 2. Meanwhile, the Checkmates have struggled both seasons. The Checkmates have most to prove of perhaps anyone in this league, but it looks like the Loaves of Bread will be very quickly going into Group A, and the Checkmates going into Group B. That is pretty much the first matchup where you can comfortably say the better team went into Group A, and that is not a great sign for all those teams in Group B. The Checkmates are going to have to struggle to get into the main league. They're perhaps one of the teams that have the least eyes on them in terms of predicting them to make it in, considering they've been bottom 4 in both leagues. They have a lot to prove if they want to keep up their attendance streak, but we'll see despite the tough competition. But now we move on to Match 5 with the Soaring Skies and the Pollen Puffs here. And both of these teams are bottom 2 in the main league last season, so perhaps they're the least expected to make it back. But it looks like, the Pollen Puffs will be going into Group A, and the Soaring Skies going into Group B. The Pollen Puffs have perfect attendance so far, and they've been very solid in the qualifiers both times, but they've not been quite so solid in the main league, never getting better than 15th overall. Meanwhile, the Soaring Skies will be going into Group B. They're another team that has a lot to prove to try and make it back to the main league. But now the 4K Pixels and the Terra Titans for Match 7. The 4K Pixels are a brand new team here, and they will be joining. Unfortunately, the Snow Skaters have been replaced, but in the meantime, it looks like the Terra Titans will be going into Group A, and the Pixels, the brand new team, will be going into Group B. And considering, as mentioned, the Group B looks so strong, it's going to be tough for them, but we shall see with this brand new team. The first time we've had a brand new team since the start of this league, really, so it's going to be interesting to watch and see how they perform, and from Group B, we'll have to see how they do. But now, with Match 8, the Balls of Water and Jelly Jammers, as we're getting into the teams that were in the B League, as were the Terra Titans last season. Both of these teams made the overall podium last time, and it looks like the Jelly Jammers are trying to get into Group A, and they will succeed. The Balls of Water are good at funnel endurance, and it looks like they will be going into Group B here. They're still rolling around in there, and it looks like, will they be going through? It's taking quite a long time. At this point, they're just showboating, but they will be going into Group B. The Jelly Jammers are one of the teams that has not made it to the main league yet, nor of the Balls of Water. Both of these teams have a lot to prove here, but the Balls of Water have come so close, especially last season, getting second in the B League, and having a great qualifiers performance, but just missing out. But now with match 9, as we're getting later and later, the Gugos and the Chili Peppers, the only matchup here of teams that were not next to each other in the results, the Gugos getting 4th in the B League, and the Chili Peppers getting 6th in the B League last time. But it looks like the Gugos will be going into Group A, pretty much no questions asked, and the Chili Peppers will be going into Group B. But both of these teams have a lot more to prove as we're getting later and later into the rounds. They're getting teams that did worse and worse last season, so they're probably less and less expected to make it. The Gugos especially haven't even made it to the main league. This is their first time in the qualifiers after getting relegated in Season 1. But now we move on to the Azure Diamonds versus the Avocados, two A teams here. And as mentioned, these teams definitely have a lot to prove. Neither one has ever made it to the main league. And it looks like the Avocados are taking a very oblong orbit, and that will send them very quickly through into Group A, fittingly for a team that starts with A, but the Azure Diamonds will not be able to say the same. They will be going into Group B. The Diamonds are another one of those teams that has not really even come close to qualifying before. They're going to have to try their hardest in this tough group in order to make it. Meanwhile, the Avocados making it to Group A, we shall see. But now with match 11, the two orange teams here, the Positrons and Orange Fizz, both of these teams were bottom half of the B League last season, so we're really getting to the lower picks here. But it looks like the Orange Fizz, they're getting very close. Will they go through? Ooh, the Positrons sneak by at the last moment. It looks like they definitely wanted to go into Group A here, or at least they were trying to show off to the Orange Fizz and move on past. But the Positrons going into Group A, they got dead last in their only main league outing. We'll see if they can make it back to the main league this season or not. Meanwhile, the Orange Fizz, similar for them, they haven't even made it to the main league before. They've been very middling in both B leagues. But now for the final matchup of today, the Gigawatts and the Wizard Lizards. The Wizard Lizards escaped relegation on a tiebreaker gold at the very last moment in Collision last season, and they'll be very quickly going into Group A. The Gigawatts going into Group B. The Gigawatts, though, perhaps even more stress for them, considering they've been very, very poor. They've had very, very poor results in both B leagues so far. The Wizard Wizards at least had that Season 1 B League championship, and they very narrowly missed out on qualification last season. We'll see if they're able to replicate that and get even into the main league this season or not. Meanwhile, the Gigawatts have perhaps most to prove of anyone in this entire qualifier. There you can see the final results, Group A and Group B. Of course, not a lot to say at this point, considering we don't have any actual event results, but there they are sitting there, pretty evenly distributed amongst both. But Group A, generally, I'd say, is a little more even. Meanwhile, Group B has a lot of high highs and low lows. But of course, we'll see as we head into the qualifiers coming soon for Quack's Marvel Clash Season 3. Stay tuned, and thank you for watching.